All right, it's the top of the hour. Welcome to our last webinar in our CRM Card Deep Dive series. I'm Erickson, Head of Solution Consultants in North America, and we are Engaging.io, an elite HubSpot partner. We've been focusing on CRM implementations for the past 15 years. I'm pleased to host today's webinar, our last in the series, which is focused on building custom cards with AI, which features Erin Wiggers, Director of Technical Strategy and Innovation. Glad to have Erin here again with us. We will leave some time at the end for questions, so feel free to put any questions in the option activities on the bottom right-hand corner. You can go to QA or you can put them in the chat, and I'll let Erin take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Melissa. So, as she said, I'm Erin Wiggers. I am the Director of Technical Strategy and Innovation here at Engaging.io. I've been in the HubSpot ecosystem for about 10 years now. Started as a front end developer and taught myself all the way up to full stack solutions engineer. If we haven't already, please let's connect on LinkedIn. You can check out the link down there at the bottom. And today we are going to talk about building custom CRM cards with AI. And I really want to emphasize this point. You do not have to be a developer in order to get this done. There are going to be some intimidating parts, but I promise I have all the faith in the world that anyone can do this. Promise you can do it. So hang in there with me. You make it all the way to the end. I'm very confident that you'll be able to pull this off. Today, we're going to go over some key terms and then cover all of the prereqs that you're going to need on your computer before you get started. Then we will create the developer account, create a project, and then finally we'll jump into the AI part, which is obviously the fun part. Quick refresher, in case you missed the first two sessions here, CRM cards are the visual blocks within your CRM records. So they can display a lot of different things. We went through all the native options in the previous sessions. So please check that out if you haven't already. They're available in all plans. You do have to have permission to customize the record page layout. So if for some reason you can't access this, make sure you ask for that. And then today we're going to get into the custom ones. Let's talk about some of these key terms. The CLI stands for command line interface, and it's basically a way to chat with your computer. It's very old school. This was like the original way of powering computers. So you do that instead of clicking buttons or using a mouse. And HubSpot, their documentation does a really good job, I think, of explaining how to set all of this up. There will be some links at the end that are super helpful. But I was telling Melissa earlier, the reason that I wanted to do this webinar is because when I first started coding, this was intimidating to me, and I wished somebody would just walk me through it. And so that's what I'm doing here. The next two things you're going to need are Node.js and NPM. So Node.js is JavaScript that you can run on your computer. Typically, you would run JavaScript browser, but this is on your local machine. And then NPM stands for Node Package Manager. And it's a way to install and manage code bases that were developed by other people. You can build off other people's functionality. And so we'll get into why that's important. Okay. We are going to go through these so fast because I don't have just a ton of time. If you get stuck on anything, try using AI and telling it to just walk you through step by step. You get stuck on a step or I've truly done this before where I was like stuck in the prereqs and had to get through those before I could even get to the steps. So try that first. And then if you need any additional help, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to answer questions. Okay. So these are the things you're going to need on your computer to get all this done. So VS Code is a code editor, an IDE. So you'll need to download that, create a folder on your computer. The terminal is where you're going to use the CLI. So you'll open the terminal and install Node.js, NPM, and the HubSpot CLI. And that probably all sounds like gibberish. So I am going to show you quickly what all of that looks like. So first, you're going to download Visual Studio Code. It's available for just about anything. Once you get that installed, it looks like this. Please ignore how unorganized mine is. So once you get into this, you'll want to just create a folder on your local machine. Just pick anywhere, it doesn't matter. And then in order to open the terminal, you'll just right click on that folder and say open in integrated terminal. So now you'll see the webinar demo is the name of the folder. And then you're just going to type things in here. So let's look at the next thing you need to install first. So you've got VS Code downloaded. Awesome. Next, you're going to download Node. So you'll click down here, and then there's a installer down here. Again, don't be intimidated. You can also, so these are the individual lines that you would copy and paste into your terminal. And we'll see some more in a minute. So I'll show you more about those. But so download Node, install NPM. So again, you'll just copy that, paste it into your terminal. B stands for global. So if you only want to install it in this particular folder, like you don't have permissions or something, you can just remove that. And so it's these like simple little commands that do things on your computer, like install folders and things like that. So that is a little bit about the basic things you need on your computer to get this going. Next up, we're going to set up the actual like HubSpot app framework. So first thing you're going to need is an app developer account. I believe this is in my, yeah. And so developers.hubspot.com/get started. And then you'll have this screen that I'm to show you. So you'll want to select create an app developer account. We can just continue this. Create a new developer account. Okay, so it's going to get the account ready, but you're not quite there yet. So you'll go to projects and it's going to prompt you to join this beta. So click there, join the beta. And it may take a minute for that to like activate in your portal. So when you go back to projects, it might still look like this. If so, just give it a minute. In the meantime, I will show you what the rest looks. Okay. So once you get to projects, if you go up to create projects, it's going to give you the line of code that you need to put in your terminal. So I'm just that. Oh, also, before I forget, make sure you've installed the HubSpot CLI. And there's a guide here. So again, it's just npm install. You'll copy and paste this into your folder you've chosen. Next up, I'm going to go terminal. Okay. Did I copy and paste that? Okay. So put in HS project create. Oh, upper house. On my Mac, I have to input npx. I have forgotten why it's set up that way, but if you get stuck, that may be it. Okay, so now it's going to walk me through the project setup here in code. And then it'll prompt you what folder you want to create it in. You just select that. I would start with a private app. There's also a really good get started article on this. So go with that for simplicity's sake. And then once that runs, you'll see here that it created this new folder and it has all the stuff that you need to create your webhooks, your extensions, your functions. Today, we're going to mostly focus on these extensions. So the primary assets that you need are these two files. The rest is easy to plug and play, and I'll show you what I mean. So what you need is the setup for the CRM card itself, and then the React code to determine the functionality. When you're prompting the AI, you can specify, I want these two files specifically. And then that way it's not trying to create the whole app at once. Instead, it's focused. And so it keeps the context window a little smaller. And that will definitely help. Okay, so once you've got this created, you're ready for the AI part. We've created a project. Okay, so I'm going to use Claude AI for this. And the primary reason is how easy it is to add files from GitHub. I also really like the extended thinking. You'll definitely want to turn on web search so you can enter URLs as context. And then I also recommend using a separate chat to create your prompt. This has been a hack of mine for a very long time. It makes things so much easier because I can just like brain dump into one chat and have it make that into something that makes sense and then put it in another chat. So highly recommend that. And then ask for just these two extension files. Obviously, as you get better with this whole process, you can also ask it to create the functions file, which is basically just a serverless function, and then webhooks as well. These are a little bit easier to set. There are some nuances to it. Let's see. Let's go now. Okay, so I'll show you on GitHub. If you've never checked this out, HubSpot does a really good job of putting code examples in GitHub for everyone to build off of. So it's super helpful. There's a lot of stuff in here. Today, we're going to focus on the UI extensions examples. So typically you would just copy and paste this URL into your new chat. So let me get this configured. So we've got extended thinking turned on. We've got our web search turned on. We need to add our GitHub files. And over here, you're going to see these percentages. These are the percentages of context capacity that you have for any given chat. I would not fill it up above 50, 60%, because it's a balance between how many tokens you want the chat to spend on context versus execution versus output. So just be mindful of that as you're choosing which examples you want to show. And if you wanted to dig into specific files, you can click, all the way into the extensions, things like that. Back to extensions and tables. Okay. So let's just add some basic ones. Short status table. Design patterns I would always include just so it has that kind of framework for the chat. And we're at 16%. That's probably enough. So I'm going to add these files. You'll see them show up down here. And then before this webinar, I used, let's see. Oh, here's my chats. Used it to create the prompt. And then I wanted to test the prompt out. Got this one here. So the subject of this one is just a card I've built before. We're actually putting it in the marketplace as we speak, but it's free because you could easily build this on your own if you really wanted to. So I'm going to show you how. Here's my kind of prompt. You want to make sure that you give it the components that are going to be in there. Tell it what available resources it has, include any links, include those examples from GitHub. So I'm going to do this. Why do you make it so hard to copy? There we go. And put it in a new chat. We've got extensions. I'm going to use 4.1 just for funsies because it's new. Make sure all my stuff is turned on. Drop my prompt in. Come on. Okay, and then we can roll. And sometimes with Claude, you'll get like an error message that you've exceeded the chat window or something. If that happens, take out some of the files that you're using and just make the context window a little smaller. So here it's created the JSON for me. Now it's building out the React. I don't know why it's so soothing to me to just watch it. One other thing, I'm glad that it did this. It didn't do this to me the last time. Sometimes it will hard code things and make it look like it's real. So you may want to add that to the prompt itself. Do not hard code anything, pull all of the properties or however you want to word it. But once you have these two files, I think it's done. You can click here and see the two files that were created and then just copy those into new files over here. So you'll want to put it in the extensions folder. And typically my naming convention is for the JSON file, all lowercase dash separated. So JSON. Place that in there. And then you can change things like the title, the type, the location is whether it's the middle tab or middle pane, right or left sidebar. The main thing you need to make sure is that the file that it's pointing to is in the same folder and has the same name that shows up here. So if you change the file name, change this here. And I always want it to match whatever that was, but like in a different format. So this is all capital, what is it called? Camel case, but everything's capitalized and there's no dashes or spaces or anything. So then we'll also create file JSON colored. Okay, and then copy this either. Sweet. And then once you're there, there is a command. All of your commands for the project are right here. So you've got project upload, dev. Once you upload, it'll build your app and then deploy it. Dev mode makes it easy to have a test environment. So if you're doing a lot of changing and need to do a whole build every time, you can use that. And yeah, so that is pretty much everything. And I'm running close to time, so I want to leave time for some questions. But yeah, that should cover everything. Let me check back here. Oh, yeah, I did want to tell you all about these helpful resources. So creating UI extensions gives you pretty much this exact spill. So all the prereqs, setting up the files, and getting started with local development. All of these explanations I highly recommend. Next is the private app quick start. It's this. Yes. Again, starts with prereqs and local environment, and then gives you a bit more on the React side of things. What I would spend the most time looking at is these UI components. So there's some like design stuff, all the standard. So these are basically all the toys in the sandbox. These are the things I would become familiar with so that when you're ideating on how to solve problems with custom CRM cards, you kind of know what's available to you. So check all of these out. If there's ever any that like you're trying to get the AI to build and it doesn't get there, you can always share this context with them. And that is right at 10:25. So I am going to turn it over for questions.
Yeah, thanks so much, Erin. Let's see if we have any questions. I don't see any in here.
Well, good. We can.
You were so precise, though.
I tried real hard. I was checking the time. I was like, okay, because it's so fun to me to be able to do this stuff. And I feel like it opens up a whole new group of people to like developer-y things. Like you truly don't have to be a developer to be able to do these kinds of things. And I just think it's good skill to have.
For sure. Any final tips you'd give anyone who watches this later?
Yeah, play around with Claude Opus 4.1, but the new 4 is also really good with code. ChatGPT will also get close to this. It's not as easy to share GitHub stuff with ChatGPT except for deep research. But yeah, and then anyone who tries this, I would love to hear from you and know what you built and if it was painful like you thought it was going to be or super smooth. Please let me know. I would love to hear from you.
All right, let's wrap up. Thanks for being here. So this is our final session in this series. So the recording for the sessions will be shared as a follow-up email along with the previous 2 sessions as well. So hope you enjoyed the series. Until next time, thanks so much.